Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Shoggoth and today we'll be taking a look at Final Fantasy X, the HD remaster that was released on PC and Steam just the other week. Before we jump into the game, let's have a look at the launcher first of all, since this is a package including both Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2, and also the Eternal Calm and Final Fantasy X-2 Last Mission packages. There is a launcher for it, because for some reason then decided that the best way to release it was in one package, so you can't actually download just Final Fantasy X, you have to download both X and X-2. Now, with that said, let's take a look at the actual settings of the launcher. So, we can set the text language, which also affects the audio language. Now, there is a mod that allows you to set these separately, which I will be using for this video because I prefer having the original Japanese audio, but I also enjoy actually being able to read the UI and menus of the game, as well as the subtitles. We have a master volume. We can set the resolution here, the screen mode, and video quality settings. That's about it for what you can actually do in the launcher, so with that done, let's jump into the game and look how it looks there. Once we enter the game, we're presented with a rather simple menu containing the options New Game or Load Game. We can, however, here press Escape to get access to a secondary menu specific for the PC version, where you can either resume the game, you can access the system settings, which include changing the audio settings such as master volume, voice volume, music volume, and sound effect volume. We have separate sliders for each of these, which is great for a PC game. You have the video settings, which actually allows you to change the resolution, the screen mode, the brightness, set VSync on or off, change texture quality, change anisotropic filtering up to 16. You can change the shadow quality. You can change the anti-aliasing from off all the way to MSAA times 8. You can activate color correction. You can activate anti-aliasing post-filtering, which goes from off all the way to SMAA Ultra. We have Unsharp Mask, which we can set to on or off, and we have Ambient Occlusion from off to HDAO High. Now, with that said, for the widget options, you also have the key bindings accessible here. And as you can see, the game has support both for keyboard and controller. Personally, I play with a controller because I have one, and these games are very suited to play with controllers because they're primarily made for controllers. But anyways, as you can see, key bindings, we can have both primary and secondary key binds, which is good. We can bind a ton of different things. For controllers, we obviously only have one bind because it would be silly to have a secondary bind on a controller. And we can, as you see, rebind basically everything, or we can rebind everything. With that said, let's move on. You also have access to the special features and change parameters in this menu. This is basically built-in sheets. Well, sheets might be a bit hash, but that's more or less what they are. Let's have a look, however. Special features. So, we can activate Turbo to increase the speed of the game. We have Supercharge, which supercharges the characters, quite obvious. We have Enemy Encounter Override, so we can change the encounter rate. We have Auto Battle, and you can hide the HUD. In parameters, or change parameters, you can click the Get All Items to gain 99 of all common items. You can unlock all character skills, and you can maximize the gil, that is the money you have. So that's very much cheating. You can also quit the game from this menu. Now that we have looked at all those lovely things, let's get in and look at the actual gameplay. When it comes to the story, it is a Final Fantasy game, so the story is somewhat weird and there are plot holes here and there, and all in all, well, it's a bit strange, but it's not bad. I wouldn't call it a bad story, that's for sure, and it can be somewhat interesting, even if Tidus as a character can be a bit annoying at times, especially in the beginning of the game where he is quite a spoiled brat in a way. But yeah, I'd have to say the story grew on me at least the first time I played it, and so far in my replay I am enjoying it, and I think you should too, but I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't enjoy. What I can say, however, is that I think it's fine. It's quite linear in the beginning for the first couple of hours while you go from temple to temple, but it opens up later on and you can spend quite a lot of time actually free roaming, looking at different places, fighting weird things, doing lots of side questy things like trying to get ultimate weapons, beating optional bosses, and other such things. So, all in all, I think it's a good game, and why not give it a try, if you want to, that is. Now, this is an HD remaster of an old PlayStation 2 game. So, how does it compare? Well, it's been a while since I played the PS2 version, but as far as I can tell, and I hope you too can from the footage, they have updated it quite a bit. I mean, it's not some extreme update, but it definitely looks better than it did on the PS2, and I think it's completely fine for a PC game to have this type of graphic quality, at least if it is a bit older. All in all, there are a couple of things that is painful, such as the face of random NPCs is usually quite flat and looks a bit weird, but that's just kind of things you have to live with, I guess. Now it's time to look at the in-game menus. So, what we have here is this. To the left you can see all our party members that we currently have, and to the right we have all the different available menu options. So with that said, let's go from top to bottom. Let's start by looking at the sphere grid, which is the advancement system of this game. We will look at the grid for Tidus, since he's our main character. Now this is a bit zoomed out, so you can first get an overview of the sphere grid. This looks completely insane if you're not used to it. I know, but let's look. As you can see, this marks where in the grid Tidus currently is placed. So let's zoom in so we get a bit of a better view. How this works is that your character will start at some point in the grid, and as you level up you gain S level points that you use to move your character through the grid. Now, as you can see here, I can select the move command, and then it highlights all the possible places I can move to with my current S level points. It also shows on the right under the character portrait how many points will be remaining after the move. I also have the option to use, which is to say I can use some of the spheres I found in the world to activate a point in the grid, and you can see here the things we have activated previously. These can be increases in HP, increases in MP, attribute races, or new abilities that you can gain access to. That's about it for the sphere grid. Now, worth to say is there are two versions of it. When you start the game, you can select either the normal mode or the advanced mode. In the advanced mode, you have more empty slots in the sphere grid where you can, put in whatever you desire later on, or rather whatever attribute you desire to increase. Unlike the normal grid where I do believe almost all of them are filled in with attributes that the game thinks you should pick up. With that said, let's move on. We have the item option where we can view and use items. As you can see, here we view or use our items. We can also sort our items. You can sort either manually or automatically. We have equipment and key items. Basically it's a regular item menu. Next come abilities. We select the ability option, then we select our character. Here you can see what abilities they have available, and some of them are also usable from the menu, such as Cure, which can be used straight from the menu, unlike most other of these, which are combat only abilities. Next, we have the Overdrive menu, where we can see what Overdrive the character has. These are basically super abilities that can be used after taking enough damage over multiple combats and filling up the Overdrive meter. So in this menu, we can mostly look at the Overdrives and see what they do. We can also set the overdrive mode. The next menu to look at is equipment, where we simply equip our characters. Now, there are only really 2 equipment slots. You have a weapon slot and an armor slot for each character. There isn't that much to do in this menu. Let's look at someone who has a couple of different items. As you can see to the right, we see the abilities these items have, and we also see how many empty ability slots the items have. More empty ability slots means that the item can get more abilities. So, for example, this Bright Shield currently has 1 empty slot and it has 1 ability, so it can only learn 1 additional ability. Obviously want items that had plenty of slots so that they can do many different things. Next, let's look at the status menu, where we can see the stats of our characters and what weapons and armor they have equipped. And after that, we can go to the Aeons, which are the summons in this game. There's only 1 summoner available for the party, so it's her summons. We can also watch the stats for our different summons, their overdrives, their special attacks, and so forth. Then we come to formation, where we can basically select which party members we want to start a combat with. Since we can switch party members in combat, this isn't the most important thing unless there are some very specific circumstances for the battle you're about to enter, so you want to have access to certain abilities directly at the beginning. And of course we have the configuration menu, where we can change not that much actually. We can change if we want the arranged or original soundtrack, we can put subtitles on or off, names on or off, cursor if we want the default or memory, we can shut off the help windows, we can set the Aeons to the short sequence so they don't take too long, which is kinda nice after a couple of hours when you start to get really sick of them. We can show the overhead map or disable it, and we can turn vibrations on or off for the controller. And of course we have the help menu, where we can find quite a lot of actual help messages. Now that's everything for the game menus. And now it's time to take a look at this game's minigame, Blitzball. So we start out here by assigning positions and players to our team as we want them. Now I only have 6 players, so it's not that hard. Then we set techniques. Tidus has the eject shot, but other than that none of my players has learned any techniques yet, so there isn't much to do there either. Lastly, we set our marks to see who marks who once we get into the game, if we choose to use the mark mode tactic, or not tactic, but positioning. I'm just going from top to bottom because, well, I want to show you how it's done, not really try to play this super seriously, just show you how the Blitzball looks. And it's, well, it's underwater football, that's what it is. While you're on the defense, you can't control your characters. They auto-move and do everything automatically. That's just how the game works. And once you have the ball right now, you can select to manually move or have auto-move. Now I have manual move set from the beginning, but I wanted to show it to you. And also, these both modes are just different control methods. Secondly, you can set the formation you want. I want to set them in mark mode now. And then, well, let's try to shoot. Right now I'm getting blocked by 5 people, and as you can see up to the right, you see their attack value. It's compared to my endurance value, so I can only break through 1 because otherwise my endurance drops to 0 and I will drop the ball. Once I have gone past him, I will try to do the eject shot. It takes almost all my HP, but it's also a very high shot value shot. Although there is enough blockers to probably stop it anyways, but still. Also, the longer a shot is, the quicker the shot, or the more the shot value will drop. Okay, now it's on 7, it's on 6, it's on 0 because he blocked it, and the opposing team has the ball. Once again, all the players are moving in accordance with the set tactics, and you can't control them. A little secret that isn't really secret, but a kind of broken tactic to win most blitzball matches is this. Once you have scored a goal or gotten into the lead, no matter how you do that, the best thing you can do is try to get the ball and then swim in behind your goalkeeper, because the AI won't be able to find you there. So unless they're already following you when you swim in behind them, they will just swim around until the match is over and you will win. It's not the coolest way to win, but if you just want to get higher up in the leagues and get the rewards, I'd recommend using that tactic. You still have to get into the lead, but at least it's somewhat easier. A good way to get into the lead could actually be to just get the ball as soon as possible, swim in behind your goalie, and then wait until you get to sudden death. That's also a variant to win, although it kind of depends on you being able to score with that shot. That's more or less everything I have to say about Blitzball. Now, as with all the other Final Fantasy games, or almost all the other, combat comes in the form of random encounters. So the best way to get into combat is to simply run around until this happens. So as you can see, our party consists of 3 characters, and it's the 3 that you've set in your primary formation. You can switch characters anytime in combat as you wish. Whenever their turn starts, you can simply switch to another character, and you can in fact do that multiple times, since it doesn't use their turn until someone actually does something. Now, as we can see here, we have Auron, who has a piercing weapon equipped, which is excellent against this enemy that has a hard shell. But I messed up a bit there, so now you will see his actual attack. Now, most other characters would only deal a fraction of that damage, and now I'll show you. Like this, you can switch character. This is our summoner, the one with the Aeons. So I'm going to show you one of our actual summons. This is the short sequence. It's still not really that short, but it's shorter than the normal. Now, once you summon an Aeon, all your other characters leave the battlefield, and it's only the Aeon versus the enemies until it is defeated or unsummoned. Then you return to the regular combat once again. But as you can see, there isn't really that much chance of this Aeon being defeated at this time. Now, that's a look at combat. It's kind of classical Final Fantasy combat, and as you can see, only those who took part in the combat got any AP or XP, and then we got our loot.